Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jim Welsh, and I am joined here today by Patrick Smith. And today is a general overview on our accounting software and our payroll services. So this will be kind of a high-level overview, for anybody who's not using our accounting software or our payroll service. We'll just give you a little bit of a background on kind of who we are, what we do here, and kind of see if this lines up for you. We also offer live one-on-one demos where we can sit with you one-on-one and dig more into the actual service and software. So at the end, we'll present our information. Today is a listen-only broadcast, so if you do have questions, you can type them in. Some we may answer as we go, but at the very end, we'll make sure we get everything answered for you. So what I'm going to do is I am going to start today by go ahead and obviously introduce ourselves. Patrick Smith is on the foundation software side. That's more your job cost accounting, ERP, project management software. And then I'm on the payroll service side, which is a standalone payroll service that can either work with Foundation or other accounting systems as well. So with that being said, what I'll go ahead and do is I will pass this over to Pat to share his screen.
All right, thanks, Jim. Appreciate everybody's time today. So like Jim mentioned, kind of twofold here. We've got the accounting software, we've got the payroll service. So I'm on the accounting side, Jim is on the payroll service side. And like you mentioned, this is just kind of a general overview, give you an idea of who we are, what we do, to see if there's any interest in, if there's out there that are looking to change accounting softwares, come on board to the payroll service. That's kind of the intent today. So very, very high level. And for anybody that does want to, like Jim said, dig a little bit further, we can always circle back and get you more of a personalized one-on-one type overview. So with that in mind, little crash course on the software itself. So we work construction. That's our niche. That's all we've ever done for the past 37, 38 years. And with Foundation, it's all job costing. This is true construction functionality. So we cater to really any type of contractor, whether you're a GC, specialty contractor, there's a lot of options within our system to sort of cater to particular trades. And it's kind of one of those things where we'll dig into this thing, figure out what you need, and see if we line up with you from a fit standpoint. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump into what we call the executive dashboard. And this will give everybody some perspective on reporting capabilities and live job costing. So this is really our backbone. This is live job costing, live data that is pulling from day-to-day accounting entries. And just to give everybody an idea, the companies that do come our way are either coming off of generic software like a QuickBooks type system, or coming off of dated legacy type systems, these construction older programs that are still floating around out there, jumping into something a little bit more up to date. So with that in mind, the concept here is, okay, we log in, how are we doing overall as a company, get that quick snapshot. So in this example, I've got my totals on the left. It'll just add up all of my active jobs and give me a little visual on how we're doing. The right side is where it would show each of those active jobs that account for the totals. This is all about the drill down. So if I want to see these jobs laid out in a report format, I click this button that says View Report, and that drills into the WIP schedule. So these WIP reports, percentage of completion, bonding reports, this is our wheelhouse. These are automatically generated, no spreadsheet, no double entry. These numbers are just feeding in by way of those day-to-day accounting entries. So you can see percentage of completion, calculates if the job is overbilled, underbilled. Now from here, any job that you'd like to look into further, you click that job number, and that drills down into a summary of that specific job. So we're showing contract amount and what's been billed, estimated cost, actual cost, gross margin, change orders, percent complete. So you get the idea. These are numbers for that individual job that we clicked into. From here, anything that's blue means you can continue to drill down into greater detail. So a lot of users out there that are doing job costs manually, many companies are looking to get into cost codes and see the breakdown of my budget versus my actual. So if I click this link that says job cost detail, for example, it's going to take our estimated cost $449, our actual cost $197, We click that link, and here's the breakdown of various cost codes that account for the estimated versus actual. Now, these examples here, these would line up with heavy construction, civil contractor. Cost codes are customizable. So with us sort of catering to various trades, your heavy construction cost codes are completely different than those that are doing electrical, that are doing roofing. So again, just some examples: customizable cost codes, unlimited, and alphanumeric as well. These are only examples. And with easy data accessibility, if I were to click any of these cost codes, here's the breakdown of that specific code: labor that came in from payroll, material that came from accounts payable or inventory. I've got some subcontract cost, equipment. We also allocate labor burden down to the penny, taking into account workers' comp rates and unemployment rates. Those numbers will allocate following the labor to that job and that cost code. Now, ultimately, you've got the ability to drill into the transaction detail. So this 4,200 in labor as an example. If I click labor, here's every transaction that came in from payroll that accounts for that 4,200. And Jim will catch you up here in a little bit on the payroll service. With these time cards funneling through Foundation, all that labor is live real time without having to transpose numbers into a spreadsheet. Now, if I bounce back a screen and go to material as another example, you can see here a couple AP invoices that account for that material cost. If I click either transaction number, it shows us the detail of that respective payable, and then with the document imaging in mind. So we've got an imaging module that allows for scanning. Users can drag and drop copies of invoices into the system. And our imaging, as a point of reference, it's not exclusive to accounts payable. Job-related documents, employee-related documents, more or less use it across the board. But with accounts payable in mind, off of these reports, we click this little paperclip icon, and now we're drilling down into an image of that material invoice or subcontract invoice or whatever type of transaction it is. So this is really what we're all about, is real-time job costing, multi-level job costing with easy access to the data, just clicking further and further down to those granular source entries. With that in mind, in this dashboard, you see these tabs up top here. Change orders, same general concept. I can see my different change order statuses. I can drill into a job to see the original contract and the changes against it, the original estimate of budget, changes against it. Click into the job number. That's showing different statuses. Click into any of these statuses. That's showing each individual change order that fits that particular status. So again, same general concept here. Start summarized, drill down into greater and greater detail. Financials can also be accessed through the dashboard. Any of these reports can be run through the respective module, right into job costs, right into the GL for the financials. The dashboard, just an easy way to get to those same numbers. Cash activity, of course, we manage as well, showing cash balances, cash flow through certain time periods. And this is pretty neat here. We do have cash flow reporting on a job level. So if I click this bottom right section here, this is showing us each of those active jobs. Okay, what have we billed? What does this job cost us? What have we collected against those billings? What have we paid out, both through payables and payroll? And then you see a calculation. Is it positive cash flow, negative cash flow? Which jobs are funding other jobs? And again, to reiterate, this is all automated, no manual entry into these respective reports to get the numbers where they belong. And the drill down, okay, I click my 352 in billings. Here's the amount of the billing. What's been paid? Is there a balance? Retainage, another thing that we automate. So the QuickBooks users of the world that are on this call, just know that this is an automated retention. There's no separate entry. There's no goofy looking aging reports. We've got an aging that shows retainage in its own column on that aging report. So again, examples of construction functionality. Okay, so jumping back to the main menu, the dashboard again gives everybody a pretty good feel for what we can do in the way of reporting. I'm going to touch on some other features, kind of high level, some of the attractive parts of our program, and we'll sort of bounce around a little bit. So the job, that's really the central area. You get the job set up, and then all these transactions are rolling into that job. Jim is going to take you into a little bit of the payroll side of things, but just to kind of get ahead of the game here, we do have certified payroll, both electronic and printed options. So anybody out there that is looking to upload to these various sites, Ash2Ware, EMARS, LCP Tracker, these formats are built in. We also have printed formats. So any of those out there that need to physically print these things out and send them in manually, this is also automated. So whether it's printed or electronic, these reports fill themselves out based on the time card entry, and they're immediately accessible. We'll run the signature page as well. And we do have a ton of state-specific certified payroll printed formats, just like the electronic option. So anyone out there that needs a very specific state-driven type form knows these are available as well. All of that in mind, we have a mobile app that could potentially feed those time cards into the system. That would be something that we can show you during a more personalized demo. But if anybody out there is looking for field capture, we've got our app that's got biometrics, taking a picture of the employee, verifying it's them, GPS tracking, custom forms that they can fill out in the field by way of the mobile app. So time cards can be entered right into the software and then potentially fed over to the payroll service. Those could also originate from the mobile app, which would automatically populate those time cards and bypass that separate entry. So construction-specific payroll, again, with the payroll service in mind, Jim will get into some of those details. The billing side of things, again, to bounce around a little bit here, we do have pay applications that are also built into our program. So those that bill on an AIA, everything on this general tab, this is the data that goes to the front page, G702. Billing shows that schedule of value breakdown, and a user can either bill by the dollar amount, which would calculate the percentage, or more commonly, bill by percentage, let it back into those dollars. Retainage can default in. So when a job is set up, you can tag a percentage to that job. It'll know what to default in, do the calculations. And then you will all see here when I go to save this billing, and I'll go to print it, and this is just like we saw with that certified payroll. This is coming right out of our program as well. So front page 702, continuation 703. And what's really neat about the billing is that it does not require a separate receivable entry or a separate entry for the retention. This can be posted directly from here. It will kick that invoice over to the aging, get it on that aging report, hang on to that retention separately, and in addition to it creating the billing automatically and putting it on the aging, also updates the ledger, also updates job revenue. So now the user can run a job report, run a financial, run the dashboard that we looked at previously, and you'd see those numbers immediately without going to 2, 3, 4 different places to get those numbers across the board. All right, so we're bouncing around a little bit here. Some of these other modules, again, they're very trade specific, equipment for heavy construction, inventory for the MEP contractors, time and material for those that are billing T&M work. Now, you all notice here we've got a project management option. Just for FYI, so everybody's on the same page here, this module we have sunsetted. So this is what we used to use for tracking things like RFIs and submittals, more your document control. Got away from this module a few years ago. It doesn't have the most depth. It's built into the accounting program, which is kind of the downside to it. It does require accounting logins to get to it. So we scrapped this module and we created a web platform that we call Project HQ. Now, this Project HQ platform, this is its own demo in itself, but just to give everybody an idea of what it does, this is all about document control. So a project manager can log in and see how many jobs they're currently managing. Do they have any documents that are overdue? They can see a schedule. What do we have going on today? They can then tap into any job that they want to look into further, and it's going to show them, okay, here's all your log entries. And these could be, today's log entries, yesterday, last week, a year ago, always accessible. So the daily logs, daily reports we would generate through the HQ environment. And really, for the most part, this is document management. So if I need to see, okay, how many RFIs have been entered, how many submittals have been entered, let's tap into our RFI count, and it's going to show me the description of each RFI, who it's sent to, what's the due date, what's the status. If I click into RFI number 1, now it's showing us the guts of the RFI. Why does it exist? What's the question? Who sent it? Who received it? We do have automatic email tracking. Emails can be launched out of our app here, and they'd be logged in here as email correspondence rather than going into your Outlook to look through all your sent items, which you can definitely do, or just come in here, see all those emails related to the specific RFI. Also have drawing management. So we could have site plans and spec sheets, and maybe there's some type of site plan that I need to view and I need to put notes on it. Maybe I need to annotate this document. Okay, let's go ahead and put in a drawing. All right, we need to highlight this corner of the building, and let's put out, okay, well, let's add a call out. This needs to be addressed. That needs to be addressed. Getting into different stamps, approved, rejected, signatures can be embedded in here as well. Again, very high level stuff that I'm showing, but this is also something that we see a huge demand for these days, all the drawing management within the project management application. All right, complete crash course here. Like Jim had mentioned, if anybody feels like, yeah, this might work for us, this might be a fit for us, you're all going to get a recording of the demo. It's going to have our contact information. You can reach out as needed. With that in mind, I'm going to kick things back over to Jim. He's going to go ahead and share his screen, and then he'll take everybody through a few items on the payroll side of things.
Thank you, Pat. All right, let me just switch this over. You got my screen now, Pat?
Yeah, we're looking good.
Cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just switch gears a bit here. So obviously, what Pat went through, full replacement of QuickBooks or your ERP project management systems. Payroll for construction is more like an ADP or Paychex. So it's a standalone third-party payroll service where some people, especially in construction, you have maybe employees you're pulling from different states, or maybe depending on where you're at, maybe employees going to different states for different jobs and work. So, I'll talk about some of the complexities that construction payroll comes with that we do a very good job of handling. And that goes to, hey, we do this in all 50 states. So, whether you are in one state or have employees in all 50 or across all 50 states, we keep up with the tax laws, the management, the new rules, and, we keep you tax compliant. So, all services, do that. They just don't really handle some of the other things I'm going to talk about, the complex construction reporting, or even multi-state. A lot of these other services, there's, payroll service of this city or that state, where they kind of focus their sales and their team to just one area or one state. Whereas again, we can handle all 50 states since we have contractors using our software and payroll service in all 50. So we really specialize here in union government prevailing wage. Not that we don't have clients that do very little of that or none of that. If they're just looking for a service that can keep their job costing intact, we can handle that as well. You'll see kind of a familiar screen here in a second. But aside from paying employees and taxes, we're going to focus more on the automation of your compliance reports, like certified union, EEO, stuff like that. So Pat, I know kind of touched on it. And what you're seeing here, again, it's familiar. We started the payroll service about 17 years ago. The accounting came first, which means payroll came with accounting. So I always say the people, product, and technology have been around for about 37 years, constantly adding new feature sets, new reports, kind of like Pat had mentioned there. So even our non-foundation clients that are using our payroll service, we just went into the settings and carved out just the parts necessary to run payroll so that, again, you can use a QuickBooks or a Sage or a different accounting system, and we can integrate with those. Now, if you're a foundation user, or if you went with the accounting system, the beauty is you could do your payroll internally, not use us, or if you did still want help with paying the employees and tax compliance and management, you could add our service, and there's no additional legwork. There's no figuring out how to get data from point A to point B, like there is with some of the other accounting systems. But in here, I'll focus in on some of the reports. Now, Pat is kind of wet in here. I'm going to just talk a little bit more about this because this really goes to, there's a lot of these accounting systems out there that they just don't keep up with anymore. And we pride ourselves on keeping up with the new things coming out. This industry, like most, doesn't stop. It evolves, it changes. So your accounting software, your payroll service need to do the same thing. Otherwise, what works for you today may not a year or two from now. And when you move to a new payroll service or new accounting system, you're putting time and money into that. You don't want to do something like that and have to make a jump a year or two down the road, So with this, these certified payroll reports, even though we have about 40 different printable ones for different states, cities, the government, like Pat showed, we're starting to see a lot of these states and agencies make you go to a website to report it. So the last thing you want to do is type it all into your payroll or accounting system, or like Pat mentioned, we have a really nice mobile app as well. But last thing you want to do, whether you're entering it or it's coming via a mobile app, is then have to go enter hours and employees and dollars again into a different system. So this would just peel out a file for one of these agencies so that you could just upload it directly to them. Some of the other reporting, same with EEO, minority compliance reports. Some contractors need this, some do not. So these are reports that for any date range you can run. So you get to pick in foundation and payroll for construction, what date range, what job. I mean, there's some pretty detailed capabilities on the reporting side. And where I really like to highlight that is kind of this here. So this would be a report that either after you entered the time or it came over from our app, or some people come to us and they're using a mobile app that they're happy with. And we don't try to force people into change, especially if something's working for them well in the field. So even other apps can push time card data to us. But in highlighting kind of what these criteria pages can do for you is they can basically give you information in many different ways. So this basically right here is running a report by employee just to see what hours they were on, if they worked prevailing wage. Another unique part of our payroll is, like Pat said, the job is so important in our system for billing, for costing, for all that. But what it's important for when it comes to the payroll is being able to control taxing jurisdictions, control a schedule of pay rates. If you're a union contractor where your employees could maybe be a laborer from local one, but when they go work in a different part of the state, they got to follow a different schedule of rates and or benefits. Those are things we see people having to, with most services and softwares out there, manually manipulate or force in, which is just time consuming, and it leaves a lot of room for error. So with that being said, these reports can be ran by employee or by job. So these criteria pages here really allow you, the end user, to find the way you want to run them, how you want them to be set up, and then saved over in your quick links menu. So if you have one person doing payroll or two people, they might have a different preference of reports or different roles or duties. One may say, hey, I submit the certified, I submit the union reports, or whatever the case is. So being able to come in here and say, hey, I want to run a report for a day, a week, a month, a year, one job, all jobs, just maybe one cost code on a job, you can really get in there and start saying, hey, I only care about job 12, and maybe I want to see overtime. And then it will filter out everything else for you to be able to see. And every report can be printed, PDF, Word, Excel, or CSV. All right, show you one more thing here before I kind of go into our recap and then open it up for questions. I got one here. It says, it kind of pertains to what we're talking about. Okay, somebody says, I see the QuickBooks integration button there on the left. Does that mean we would talk to QuickBooks Online for the transition? No, we'd be talking with you, but we would be getting reports. We can extract data on both the foundation and payroll service side, where we can get employees and jobs in Excel, where we can upload them. So by no means would Pat or I ever tell you that, to switch to one of these things is a couple week process, you know what I mean, a click of a button. No, and that's where I was saying, hey, when you change to a new payroll service or software, you want that to be the forever home, So what we're doing with QuickBooks is we're feeding back into QuickBooks your general ledger and job costing data. Now, if you're a foundation client, the data is all in foundation, but basically with QuickBooks, in other accounting systems too, we can go back by job, by employee, by cost code. So the integration is more us pushing data back into any other accounting system not named foundation. But we would help transition you absolutely. You'd have a trainer, a kickoff/planning meeting, and then we have data specialists that can help pull that info out where then we can import it to foundation so neither you or us are having to hand key everything in. Okay, now another follow-up question to that. So foundation does not replace QuickBooks. Yes, it does. So that's perfect because I'm going to go back to the recap because I know this can be confusing. So let me go to my next slide here. So foundation is a full job cost accounting system. So what Pat was showing you in the beginning would equip you to drop foundation or to drop QuickBooks, meaning you're not going to buy foundation and use QuickBooks. So it would fully replace QuickBooks in that case scenario. Now, the payroll for construction is more of, hey, I'm not quite ready for whatever reason. Sometimes it's financial reasons. Sometimes it's, hey, I'm just QuickBooks or this system's working for me on all facets except for my complex payroll. I'm looking for help there. That's where payroll for construction would be like an ADP or Paychex standalone service that we could bolt on to a different accounting system. So in short, we have people that buy our accounting system to replace QuickBooks or a legacy system. Then we have people that buy just the payroll service to bolt on to a QuickBooks or again, a Sage. And then we do have people that buy both, people that are coming from, hey, I'm using QuickBooks and ADP. I looked at foundation. I want to go with foundation. Well, then it makes all the sense in the world to also go with our payroll service because same company, same products. You have many options with us, even that mobile app we have. If anybody on this call is like, hey, I'm not quite ready to change accounting or change payroll, but I would really like to see your mobile app. We have a really nice mobile app that can work with QuickBooks and other accounting systems as well. So if after this anybody's, the water's a bit muddy, like this person said, hey, sorry, I was 5 minutes late. That's where, again, we encourage everybody to say, hey, if this looks okay, there's no harm in doing a one-on-one hour demo of any of our products with us. If it lines up, great. If not, you spend an hour's worth of time with one of us to actually show you how it would work for your specific company. Okay, I got another question. How comparable is the pricing for payroll for construction versus ADP and Paychex? Usually we're cheaper. I mean, everybody has different agreements and deals, but in doing this 14 years, I can't recall losing a sale due to price. It's time savings, and we're pretty much apples and apples when it comes to cost there. Whereas that same question on Patrick's side of the fence, there is a big difference between the cost of QuickBooks Online and Foundation Online. Okay, trying to see if any other questions came across. You got any on your side, Pat, or no?
No, it's looking good. Yeah, you pretty much got through them. Yeah, I don't see any others. I think we're in pretty good shape here.
Yeah, and here's both of our contact info. So again, and we're easy to work with, meaning if you reach out just to say, hey, I attended the webinar, just curious on cost, we'll send you over cost, follow up with you a week later. Hey, any other questions? And if you say thanks but no thanks, you don't have to worry about us, constantly calling. So if you just have a question on any one of the products, reach out to either one of us, and then we'd be happy to, get you to the right place on our end to see what you're looking for. So thank you again, everybody, for attending today's webinar, and we hope to hear from some of you soon.